7 crew members suspended, and 3 teams argue about who holds the record for fastest pit stop. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We're talking pit crews today. See, I remember a couple years ago when NASCAR first announced that the next-gen car would feature single-locking lug nuts, many fans were in uproar. This is gonna devalue the pit crews. 1 lug nut is way easier than 5. 2.5 years into the next-gen, and the exact opposite has happened. I think pit crews now are more valuable than ever. Every 1/10 of a second on pit road matters more than ever. The cars are more equal, the drivers are more equal. Pit road is where you gain or lose spots. And this week, several teams found out they'll be missing a crucial pit crew member for at least this weekend's race at Talladega. NASCAR handed out a 1-race suspension to Zachary Yeager, tire carrier for the RFK number 17, Jacob Holmes, tire carrier for the JGR 20, Doug Warwick, jackman for RCR's number 33 this past weekend, and Brandon Harder, fueler for the Xfinity Series team Junior Motorsports number 9. 1-race suspension for violating the crew member protective clothing and equipment section of the NASCAR rulebook. I read on Racing America that the RFK tire carrier had an issue with his gloves, while the JGR tire carrier and RCR jackman had issues with their helmets. Look at these penalties: different teams, different manufacturers, different pieces of equipment, different pit crew positions. That suggests to me that these were merely oversights and not likely some sort of intentional attempt at gaining a performance advantage. It's not like Atlanta, where Joey Logano got fined for wearing a webbed glove that was clearly being used for performance gains. These penalties may seem harsh, but NASCAR's been cracking down on equipment and uniform violations. NASCAR mandates that all drivers and crew members wear SFI-approved uniforms. Like I said, Joey Logano, a driver, was fined earlier this year. Now we're seeing crew members get scrutinized. This headline reminds me of a headline last year when NASCAR, began mandating that all drivers wear a certain fire-resistant underwear. Had me laughing what is NASCAR doing? Random spot checks where they make drivers show them their underwear? This isn't really a laughing matter. 1-race suspension is serious. It's almost as serious as a 2-race suspension for 2 of Kyle Larson's crew members. Rear tire changer Calvin Teague and jackman Brandon Johnson have been suspended for 2 races. This is due to the right rear tire coming off under caution at Texas Motor Speedway. Remember, in the past, this would have been a 4-race suspension for the crew chief as well. I know the 2-lap penalty on Sunday was harsh, but overall I do think this is a more reasonable punishment. One more suspension worth mentioning: Nicholas Covey was indefinitely suspended by NASCAR for allegedly violating the sport's substance abuse policy. He had been the jackman for Austin Dillon. No additional details were given, but man, a brutal week for pit crews. 7 pit crew members, if my count is correct, suspended for at least 1 race. Goodness gracious. While we're focusing on pit crews, someone needs to settle this debate between Hendrick, Stewart-Haas, and Joe Gibbs Racing. Earlier this week, Hendrick Motorsports made a post on X saying that they had set the record for the fastest 4-tire stop in NASCAR history. Posted an edited video of the stop as well, blazing quick. Well, Stewart-Haas Racing was quick to contradict Hendrick's claim, saying that they had set the fastest time last season. 8.45 seconds. Goodness gracious. I remember when that was considered a fast 2-tire stop. The debate didn't stop there. Then Joe Gibbs Racing came out of left field to claim they had the fastest stop at 8.39 seconds. And they showcased this POV video from one of Christopher Bell's tire carriers. I know they use different cameras. I don't exactly know when the clock is supposed to start and stop. All I know is these were all very fast pit stops. I do wish there was a more consistent way to score this, because it would be a cool record to track each week. Does Hendrick have the record? Maybe Stewart-Haas? Joe Gibbs Racing making a strong case. Maybe you have to give Joe Gibbs Racing the tiebreaker, because I think that 20 team, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that largely the same pit crew that was on the 54 last year and who won the pit crew challenge at North Wilkesboro? So, if you have to give someone the tiebreaker, I'd give it to the 20 team. But I don't really know. What I do know, again, to bring this all full circle, pit crews are extremely valuable. It's hard to pass at most tracks. Track position is extremely valuable. The easiest place to gain positions is on pit road. It's also the easiest way to lose positions. Wanted to spend some time focused on pit crews, but now let's talk Talladega. This morning, I posted the full conversation with Dale Tanhart. We talked numbers, we talked odds, talked all things Talladega. I just want to share a short clip from our conversation right here. We both listed our 5 super speedway sleepers. Let me know if you agree with who we selected. I want to talk about some dark horses, not just Ford Mustang dark horses, but actual dark horses here, because speaking of Ford, Austin Cindric and Michael McDowell were the 2 stage winners at Atlanta, which I know is a little different from Talladega, but it's still a drafting track. So I put together my top 5 sort of super speedway sleeper picks, and I want to see if these kind of align with some of your top 5. So I have Austin Cindric at my number 1 spot. I've got Todd Gilliland, who led a ton of laps at Daytona and Atlanta to start this year at number 2. Corey LaJoie, often a threat. Michael McDowell, I just mentioned, won a stage. And then I want to throw BJ McLeod in there. Remember how fast he was in his dual race at Daytona? That team's part-time now. They're pouring more resources into the few select races they actually run. He was fast. He sliced and diced with the leaders in his dual race. Do you have a slightly different top 5 of super speedway sleepers?
Yeah, I love this segment. Look, I'm a fantasy football guy. I love the term sleeper, and we can use it and apply it to the NASCAR world as well. And you said it with BJ McLeod. While my list is somewhat different, I got to just say BJ McLeod is going to be one of the most popular bets this weekend.
Just for a top 10. I'm not trying to bet the world here, but a top 10.
He's trending 9-1 or 10-1 for a top 10. I think a lot of people will take that. And just to throw in a nugget, DraftKings Sportsbook is allowing people to parlay top 10s, which is that's the concept that created a millionaire with FanDuel back at Daytona 2022 when everybody crashed in the rain and you had all the Rick Ware guys, Beard with the 62, BJ McLeod all run up in the top 10, and it created some crazy payouts. I can't believe DraftKings is doing that. This is not an endorsement of DraftKings. It's just something that's crazy that I can't believe they're getting back into. So I must say that because BJ McLeod is going to be a popular pick straight up and mixed in with that parlay stuff as well. But when I look at my top 5 guys, our lists are similar. I mentioned SHR. My number 5 would be Noah Gragson. I like Noah Gregson's aggressiveness. You got to remember, spring 2023, this was a race where he was up in the top 2, leading on or outside row on a restart, and he got into it with Ross Chastain. That wasn't the only time they got into it. But I like the aggression level. I like what Noah Gregson's done in the Xfinity Series with a couple wins at Daytona and Talladega. And I think with this race car, a car that Eric Almirola was really strong in at the super speedways dating back to 2018, Noah Gragson could be a good sleeper that people aren't going to be thinking about. Moving on to number 4 on mine, I'm going to go with Corey LaJoie. I think Corey LaJoie has been a guy that's proven he can run top 5, he can run top 10, he can compete for wins.
Yeah, he was 4th at Daytona, 13th at Atlanta to start this year, so that's pretty good numbers.
And he had a top 10 at Talladega last fall as well. Yeah. So he's on a really good streak right now when it comes to super speedway, just getting to the end and getting good finishes. And I think the pressure's on for Corey right now because Carson Hocevar, her teammate, very, very raw as a rookie, is performing pretty well. So watch out for Corey LaJoie. This could be a good equalizer race for him as well. At number 3, I'm going to go with Eric Jones. This is the guy everybody forgets about, man. I know Eric Jones. You look at the overall results, they may not be there on the stat sheet, but Eric Jones is a guy that has found himself in many winning or borderline winning situations at super speedways, and in particular at Talladega. Think back, I think it was spring of 2020 when Blaney won. Eric Jones was flying up the outside, got doored last second, didn't win. Fall 2022 when he pushed Chase Elliott to the win, he was up in the top 5. Spring of 2022, gave up the win in the Tri-Oval. He was a 60-1 bet. Eric Jones is a guy that is a veteran, and he finds himself in close race situations when it comes down to these super speedway races. Number 2, I'm going with Chase Briscoe, talking about the SHR. Chase Briscoe, to me, is trending high, and I think a lot of people are going to sleep on him. When you look at all drivers with a minimum of 10 starts at super speedways, Chase Briscoe is 7th on just pure average finish. 7th in all drivers with at least 10 starts at super speedways, and the 6 guys ahead of him have all won at least one super speedway race. Wow. Not flashy, but he's getting the finishes at Daytona and Talladega. We're not going to talk about Atlanta when he crashed, but Daytona, Talladega doing pretty well. And my number one is right there with you with Austin Cindric. If the
Okay.
books are 33-1 out there, 30-1 for Austin Cindric, who we thought with his very diverse driving talents in the Xfinity Series would be better at other tracks. It's now where Austin Cindric's shine is at the super speedways. He leads laps, he wins stages, he's always up there, and you know that number two Penske Ford is fast on the super speedway. So
Yeah.
there you have it, my sleepers, and we're kind of aligned. I feel like great think alike on some of this
We
stuff.
right? Definitely have a lot of we got some interesting picks up, and I'm surprised no Michael McDowell on your list, considering he started on the front row both Daytona and Atlanta to start the year. So qualifying will be especially interesting. But we do certainly align on Cindric, if for no other reason than he has some bad, fast teammates he can lean on in the draft, in practice, and qualifying. But that's some pretty good stuff right there. Again, if you head to my channel, you can watch the full conversation. Lots of good Talladega talk. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. I will see you all tonight. I am hosting NWP, so you can come hang out with me, some other YouTube buddies of mine. We'll talk all things Texas, get you ready for Talladega, and cover everything in between. Hope to see you there tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, folks.